And we are proud to present to you several little stories, big stories, about Grosse Pointe. Kay Burt Wilson is going to, she and Izzy have been in charge of this production, and I will turn this over to Kay so she can introduce you to the actors. And just be prepared. Not for Kay, but there might be a surprise somewhere along the way. So just be prepared. Kay?
Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming, everybody, on this wonderful blessed day. Let's bring our little guys in. Hello, gentlemen. Come right on. Yeah, said nice lady. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Look, we've got children here. We've
got more chairs.
Yes, we need more. There's a couple chairs over here. Guys, we have 2 chairs over here. 2 in the middle. One's over there. Yeah, there you go. Good job. Come on, right over here. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to, because we have some young members in our audience, I'm going to talk about our production and explain some things so the guys will know exactly what we're doing here. Welcome, and we are presenting the first time we've ever done this. We're going to present a play today as if it were a live radio program. So in the old days, for you, people used to, well, you guys watch TV in the afternoon or something. People didn't have a television set. Some of us already know that. But people didn't have a television set, so they would sit down and listen to the radio. Now that sounds a little boring, but that was really cool. I mean, people would go and sit and listen to the radio with their mom and dad and everybody, just like, you know, like you might watch TV now. So live radio shows, it was called a wireless, the radio, because people were shocked that a radio could just turn on and hear voices, and you could change the station and not have a wire going to the person that was talking to you. It was like magic. It was really cool. So a radio program is what this play is about. And the radio program is going to be about different stories from the past of Grosse Pointe. That's why this play is called Grosse Pointe Past, Old Grosse Pointe Past. Now the stories come from a book called Tartanacore. It was written by, I gotta get this right, author M. Woodford.
Arthur, yeah.
Arthur?
Mm-hmm. Arthur M. Woodford.
It says Arthur right there, and I always mess that up.
Live radio.
And the show must go on. If something happens on the live radio, you're screwed. You just have to live with it. No cutting it out. So the stories that we're going to tell you about, the different people, it's like we're in a studio, and all these different people are going to be interviewed by an announcer. And in a radio program, sound effects are really important. You know how you guys like those effects, like, you know, you see on the screen and all these things are happening. Well, we couldn't do that with the radio. So the person that was in charge of sound effects was extremely important. This is our sound effects person. This is Beth Teagan. We have to make concessions. There's our boss. We have to make some concessions to today's age. But when it was the early radio programs, the sound person had to actually manipulate different things, like they'd have big pieces of metal and shake it and sound like thunder. That's going to show you what we did for horses.
So it's a regular coconut, and you could do it lots of different ways because you could do it softly. You can do it.
That's the horse getting tired and dying. So that is a really important person in our radio program. Another important person, of course, was an announcer, and our announcer today is Rick Burt Wilson. He's kind of like I know Johnny Carson isn't the right word for you guys. He's kind of like the person that organizes, and keeps the show going. So, and I would be kind of like the directing. McMahon. So I'm going to be one that's kind of like taking care of you guys. I'm going to like, if there were a radio show and I wanted it to sound like an applause was going on because all those people out there in radio land that are listening to this program need to hear my live audience so they know that they're, it's really funny. So like if I were to go like this, what are you gonna do? If I go like this, boo, boo. Let's try that again, okay? Wait a minute. Yes, that's what, yes! Because I had to convince all those people listening to our show that they want to hear our show a second time, otherwise we're going to be off the air. So it's real important. This guy and I kind of take care of you guys. Now I need to explain that the stories from Tonacor represent different period of times. So this show isn't like about 1945. Some of the stories are from an earlier period and some of them are more recent. So we've kind of left out dates so we don't confuse you, so the show doesn't seem a little odd. But all the stories are true. They've been taken, the facts that we're going to present are things that have actually happened. Everything is real. Almost. The names are people, they're real people from Grosse Pointe. The names you'll hear are old Grosse Pointers that have historic value to us, except for Mrs. Want-to-be. Now, Mrs. Want-to-be has a story that's very true, but there was no one named Mrs. Want-to-be. Okay, can I pick on you, sir, as a victim? Now, you can say no. What does it mean if I say, I'm from the wrong side of the tracks?
If you back during the Nazis, if you were a German, but you didn't believe in kidnapping the Jews and all this such, you'd go, man, I'm on the wrong side of the tracks. I am German, but I don't like the ways of the German.
Wow, no, I've never heard that explanation before. Bravo, sir. Your name?
Kerrigan.
Kerrigan. Whew. Now that's not exactly the story I was going to tell. The story I was going to tell really didn't have to do with Germans. People in the United States would say, oh, he's from the wrong side of the tracks, meaning he's like not quite good enough. So if somebody's from the wrong side of the tracks, you don't want your son dating a girl from the wrong side of the tracks. That would be bad. So that's one of those historical little things that's going to come up in our play. Oh, don't fall asleep. Wake up. Why do we tell French stories in the Historical Society? You can say I don't know, and that's okay.
The name Grosse Pointe is French.
Bravo! Well done. That's a good enough answer. And what's your name, sir?
Mark.
Mark, very good job, thank you. The reason, Grosse Pointe has French roots. If you look at our street names, everything's French. French is a very important part of our history. I'm not French. I'm not from Grosse Pointe, but do I ever love those legends? Because legends were told by Grosse Pointe, the habitants, the people, the Grosse Pointe, the French farmers who lived here. And they were speaking French and sharing stories, because they didn't have a radio. They told legends to each other. So just like you're going to hear some legends tonight, those would have been stories that would have been shared right here in this area right here. So it's real important to us even if we're not French. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, there were some interesting sightings in our lake. Now, there were sightings that were reported to a newspaper called the News Tribune. Am I saying that correctly? Now, oh, I skipped you somehow. Let me just, before.
I skipped you.
Please stand up. Please. Oh, those French. Please stand up. Please stand up. Dr. Pat O'Brien. Dr. Pat O'Brien playing Simone. Simone is very, very sweet. You'll like her. Okay, this is Mary Stelmark. That happens to be her real name. But she is the reporter for the news that actually got the story, really, that she's going to tell you about. Now we have another little French person. We like French people in Grosse Pointe. It seems to work. Please stand up, meet Izzy Donnelly. Izzy.
Bonjour. Bonjour.
Izzy, merci beaucoup, merci beaucoup. Sit down. Okay. Izzy actually is,
Assieds-toi.
is actually our very, very own. She's part of his, she works here. And this is her job. This is her second home. And she does just about everything under the sun. We're very proud of her. No, this is Mrs. Want to Be. Her name is not really, it's Sue Lewandowski. And she is delighted to be here tonight. One of her first opportunities to be on stage. You feeling better now?
Oh, yeah.
Good. And lastly, Fritz Burr, please stand up. He's going to play a man named William
Lancaster.
I never can remember that. Lancaster. And Mr. Lancaster is an actual name, and he actually is going to tell you about Fritz's story. You're gonna enjoy that. Okay, what have I not covered? Last person, the person you do not see. What is, ooh, you're my victim. What is a, thank you, sir. What is a sponsor?
Sponsor is the person who essentially enables the radio show to happen.
Beautiful. And your name, sir?
Dominic.
Very well done. Thank you kindly. There was a gentleman named Shay Solowitz. I believe he was a Russian immigrant and he moved to Detroit. And he would import all kinds of things. Seasoning, soaps, olives, you name it. And then he'd slap on this little label that said Grosse Pointe quality products. And by gosh, and by golly, they sold. He became a very wealthy man. So anyway, we're going to thank Shay Solowitz, who is a real person who really did produce products for the Grosse Pointe area. And he's going to be our sponsor. Okay, he's not really a sponsor, is he? And one thing that we need to just finish up with, everything about this is a play, right? Mm-hmm. So there's nothing that's real about this. So if it's like really scary part of legend, it's not real, okay? But it's so much fun. You're gonna love it. Okay, I think we should cast. Are you about ready?
We're ready.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. 3. Quiet on the set. Thank you. 3, 2, 1. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Grosse Pointe. As usual, we are here today in front of our live audience, bringing you the best in radio entertainment from the past. But first, a word from our sponsor, Grosse Pointe Quality Product.
If it passes our test, you know it's the best. Grosse Pointe quality products. Thank you.
God, I love that jingle. I sing it in the shower all the time. It's absolutely wonderful. Anyway, we have a great lineup of stories for you today. We've got everything from muskrats, sea serpents, streetcars, and the yacht club. You're gonna love this. And now, let me introduce you to our first guest, that crazy little French gal, Simone. Hello, Simone.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, very well, thank you. I hear that you have a story for us that goes back to those early Grosse Pointe days, when people living here were hunting and eating muskrat?
Oh, yeah, the muskrat. Hush, and let me tell you my story. The poor little muskrat, he lives in the marsh with his funny black nose and his fancy mustache. In his good coat of fur, he jump around so frisky. You'd think that his belly was chock full of whiskey. He don't do no harm when he comes round the farm. Only borrow a few things, just for keep himself warm. For in the winter will come, and he's there in his shanty, with his saving the grub, so he always have plenty.
Yes.
If they leave him alone, the poor little fella. He minds his own business and he lives in the cellar. But some like to shoot him. Shoot him. Can you imagine that? They like to shoot him for make up the stew. And I think it's too bad for to kill him, don't you? No, it's a bad thing. Le bon Dieu, the good God, le bon Dieu was make him so pretty and fat. He give him more style than the other rats. And he want him to live with no trouble, no fear, and raise all his families in 2-3 years. 2-3 years. But some of a fellow what carries a gun, he sneak on the marsh just to have him some fun. And he chase it, and he shoot it, and he with gunpowder he shoot it, and he put it with hominy for make up a chowder.
That's terrible.
Awful, eh? Awful. There ain't much society down where he go. Of course, there's the mud hen, the frog, the chapeau, but they're very poor company. They're a little too slow. Not in the same class with our muskrat, you know. The mud hen grandfather was Voyager duck.
Really?
Yeah. His mother chicken would play in hard luck.
Oh, yes.
The granite chapeau was stupid and slow. The muskrat don't mix with company so low. No. So, the muskrat, he leave with his own family. Don't run around at night, for there's nothing to see. And some bullfrog or chapeau he's meet, he just wink his eye and pass on the street. He don't hurt them. He don't do nothing. No. He carries some musk, but he don't smell too bad. For he don't play the trick like the skunk when he's mad. He a clean little beast, and he work all he can. And he not so nice.
Oh, beautiful,
He work all he can. And behave himself better than many good men. When you take off the skin of the little muskrat and scrape off the musk and forget about that. What a beautiful fur. Mon Dieu, it is fine. She sell for $2 any old time.
$2.
The mink and the seal and the beaver also was cousin with our little muskrat, don't you know? Yeah. And often a swell lady who buy a seal skin sack, she paying for muskrat to put on her back. The moral. Everything in this world has some kind of smell. Everything. Some smell of the flower, and some smell like hell. But if you wash often and try to leave clean, you're sure to be sweeter than most king and queen. The fine city lady put the muskrat on for style, but often she go without bath for a while. But le bon Dieu does make our little muskrat that way. So he carries his musk, but he wash every day.
Even our student audience thought that was hysterical. I didn't know that muskrats smelled.
Oh, sure, yeah, they smell a little bit. You learn something every day.
I learn something every day.
I have a little muskrat at my house. You want me bringing by something?
No, thank you.
Really?
Thank you, Simone.
Okay.
No.
Well, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And dear audience, now to those serpent sightings. Let's bring Mary out here to share her amazing story.
Yay! having me.
Oh,
It's
so
a
wonderful.
pleasure to be here.
Well, let's say, first of all, that Mary works with the News Tribune, and she has been given the assignment of a lifetime. Imagine that. To report on the multiple serpent sightings right here in our Michigan lakes. So we've welcomed Mary. So, now tell us about the serpent assignment you've been given. If I understand this correctly, you have been given the assignment of interviewing people who say they have actually seen sea serpents in Lake St. Clair.
That is
Do you-
true.
Do you think there's any validity to these stories?
Well, you wouldn't believe the stories flowing into the News Tribune, and I have my original notes right here.
Oh my.
A fisherman, a local guy, he reported that a sea serpent, you know, the kind
Lives in the water.
only lives in the water, came ashore. Seized a horse that was standing near the shore, wrestled it, and dragged it into the water. And then vanished, dragging the horse beneath the waves, never to be seen again. What do you think? Can you believe that?
Oh. Whoa, I don't know.
But that's just the tip of the iceberg. There was a group of Grosse Pointers boating in Lake Huron and told me of hitting a rock along the shoreline, causing one of them to fall overboard. He apparently was sucked down in seconds. The sea monster had wrapped its long tendrils that had octopus-like suckers on them. Those tendrils around the man's waist and quickly pulled him under the water.
Oh my.
What happened, you say?
Yes.
Well, this fisherman must have been a Boy Scout. Because while the life was being sucked out of him, he managed to take out a penknife. And within half hour, 3 of the coiled arms were severed and the monster scurried away. Now, that's a major story, but perhaps told by a major storyteller?
Oh my God. You know, what's interesting to me is I'm just trying to figure out how he could hold his breath so long.
I don't know, but he did. And I have more. A group of well-known Detroiters were fishing off Sarnia when they saw a black mass moving in front of them. Now, one of our more peaceful Detroiters
Oh yes.
pulled out his revolver and fired shots.
My. Oh my.
He said that this monster was 88 feet long. Not 87, not 89, 88 it was. And flexible as a snake. And it disappeared. Now, whether it fled away alive or sank to the bottom due to the gunshot wounds, we'll never know.
You know, I think it's a really damn good thing that they had a tape measure.
I think he was a Boy Scout too.
And then what?
Yes, and then a prominent member of local office who was summering in Windmill Point related this experience to me. He saw a large animal or fish with a bull-like head, magnificent pair of antlers, and a single eye.
Mon Dieu.
Antlers on a sea creature? He wanted to capture it for the local museum. However, it was too fast for our local office holder, and it headed towards Lake Erie at an enormous rate of speed.
Antlers though? On its head?
Yes, so I was told.
And what about the eye? I mean, where was its single eye?
Well, that wasn't reported. I guess we'll never know.
Oh boy.
I have more.
Oh great.
It was reported that respectable community members were viewing Lake St. Clair from the upper floors of the Riverside Hotel when they saw a very large thing approaching shore at a high speed. Then it disappeared. Then it reappeared. And finally disappeared again, heading towards Windmill Point. What do you think, Rick? Surely they must have had an afternoon filled with libations?
Well, you got me there, Mary. But the story does sound a bit tipsy.
And what do you know? Life interfered with these stories. The Spanish-American War began. It was all over the newspapers, and that was all people wanted to read about. And guess what? There were absolutely no more sightings of serpents in our lakes. Makes you wonder.
Wow. Well, dear audience, that was thoroughly enjoyable. Mary, thank you so much. And now,
Pleasure being here, and thanks for having me.
I feel safe to swim in Lake St. Clair. Oh, no. Goodness me, we just had a news flash coming in. Yes. Oh my. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sorry to have to report the news, particularly this news. I have just been informed that today, October 3rd, our Detroit Tigers played the first game in the World Series at Briggs Stadium. We lost to the Chicago Cubs 9-0.
What else?
Well, that's new, yes. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a moment for a message from our sponsor, Grosse Pointe Quality Product.
If it passes our test, you know it's the best. Grosse Pointe quality products.
God, I still love that jingle. Okay, welcome back, dear audience. What an exciting afternoon we are enjoying here. And now we get back to our scheduled program with our own Grosse Pointe storyteller, Izzy.
Oh, thank you, Rick. I have the most amazing.
I will not stand for it. I will not wait another minute. After all, you know who I am.
Wait, let me see here. Wait.
Who is this one?
You're not. No. You must be Mrs. Want to Be.
Oh, that's wannabe. Thank you very much.
Oh, dude. Oh, my God.
So I have to wait.
Yes.
Rude to be, rude to be. Yes.
Well, I'm sorry.
And you are just gonna wait till I'm done. Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't catch your first name.
Well, that's because I didn't tell you my first name.
Okay, Mrs. Want to Be. What is your first name?
And why should I tell you?
Why, so I may introduce you to our listening audience.
Oh, well, yes, of course. My name is Mildred.
Dear audience, may I introduce you to Mrs. Mildred Want to Be. She's here today to talk to us about the new interurban railway. May I call you Mildred?
No, Rick, you may not. My name is Mrs. Wannabe.
Well, welcome, Mrs. Want to Be. I see that you have information for us about the interurban that is going to be built to provide rapid transportation from Detroit all the way, can you imagine this, to Mount Clemens.
Oh, that's incredible.
Isn't that exciting?
Yes.
Just think, no more horses and buggies. Anyone will be able to hop aboard the trolley car and race along the shoreline, speeding to their destination. It will be wonderful and modern.
Well, I can see that you don't have a brain in your head.
Excuse me?
I would think that you would know that all the proper people will not stand for such a thing.
And who are these proper people?
Well, all the ladies. Mrs. Dodge, Mrs. Chapin, Mrs. Jewett.
Oh, you mean the families who own the mansions on Lakeshore Drive?
Let me go on. Mrs. Joy, Mrs. Newberry, and of course, Mrs. Elger.
And why, Mildred, excuse me, would these intelligent and philanthropic women want to stop progress? When the rails are completed, people who would use the interurban would not need to rely on horses and travel rutted dirt roads.
Why, the lawns, the beautiful lawns. Can you imagine having tracks running across manicured lawns?
But
And the noise. That is just not acceptable, that we should have to bear the rattle of streetcars rumbling across tracks right outside the window while I'm serving tea.
no, but
And the common people. Good gracious, can you imagine? Everyday ordinary people gawking at the private estates, envying all that they see. There'd be crime. It would mean an end to our way of life.
wait, please, just a moment. Let me interrupt. I believe that a concession has been made for you and your friends. The plan is that the new tracks will not run along Lakeshore Drive, but turn north and Fisher, and then right on the brand new wide boulevard, Grosse Pointe. It will be plenty wide to accommodate the streetcar traffic, and gee, if the interurban system ever went down, that would leave a very lovely wide boulevard. The tracks won't turn back to the shoreline until it reaches Weir Road. Great, isn't it?
No,
Wait. Oh, I'm sorry.
no.
Why not?
Well, because I'll still be living on the wrong side of the tracks. That's not where I want to be.
Oh, so you don't live on Lakeshore Drive.
Oh no, that's where I want to be living. But I do work there. I serve at the tea parties for Mrs. Joy.
Oh, Mrs. Want to Be, I'm sure you'll learn to enjoy your ride, no matter what side of the tracks that you board the streetcar named Grosse Pointe.
Mildred, it is my turn. Up! I better fix this chair, Mildred. Jeez. Now, I really have a story for you.
Thank you, Izzy.
You're welcome. What do you know about Le Lutin? Anybody?
Nothing.
Le Lutin! Hey, this is a very important part of Grosse Pointe history.
Okay, Izzy, go with it.
Thank you, Rick. Yes, I have the great old French story of the werewolf called Le Lutin. The French inhabitants living right here heard this same tale over an evening fire to their friends and neighbors, just like we are this afternoon.
Really?
Oh, dear listeners, it seems... Oh, that's your birthday. Sorry.
Well, it's okay, dear listeners. My part can be done by anyone. And it seems that we're in for a treat tonight. Okay, Izzy, please go right ahead.
All right. Le Lutin, the legend of a goblin horseman. In 1796, on the banks of Lake St. Clair at Grosse Pointe, lived an old French habitant named Jean-Marie Tati. Jean-Marie was a great raconteur. On autumn afternoons, the habitants...
What's a raconteur?
Fermez la bouche, madame. An autumn afternoon, the habitants would congregate at his house, and only when the shadows had lengthened to twilight and the church bell would peal, would the spellbound listener slowly come back to the realities of life and give thought to the impatient housewife and a waiting meal. Quietly taking a few whiffs of his beloved pipe, and in the midst of that hushed silence, he would relate the story of Le Lutin. Jacques l'Espérance, or Jocko, was sole proprietor of a fine concession at Grosse Pointe. Jocko's tastes ran towards horses, and he was one of the most celebrated horse breeders in this section of the country. Really. Jocko gained his reputation in the winter races on the ice along Lake Shore and Grand Marais. Dressed in his riding regalia, he could be heard loud above the others as he urged his little Canadian pony, "Avance, long caribou, avance le breur!" With lightning speed, he flew, and ere the sound of his voice died away, only a tiny speck of the ice marked the steed and the driver. Arriving at the Hotel of Grand Marais, under the genial influence of liqueur de pêche, peach brandy, and the subtle incense of flattery, Jocko would claim enthusiastically that his pony had a speed that would be considered marvelous. "Clearing at a bound," he said, "cracks on the ice 20 feet wide." Jocko could be seen every day driving his favorite along Lakeshore, and Eclair, or Lightning as he called her, carried herself as if conscious of the admiration she created. One evening, Jocko went to his friend Antoine Gaffard's to meet his fellow habitants. Antoine's magic violin would compel the most unwilling feet to chase the flying hours.
It definitely would.
At dawn, Jocko went to harness Leclerc and found her covered in foam, and her mane was all tangled in burrs. Well, annoyed that anyone would play such a trick on him, Jocko left determined next time he would bring a less valuable horse. But the next morning, and the next, he found his favorite, dejected, tired and wearied, as if she'd been driven hard all night. So, he put a padlock on his barn door.
It's very smart.
Strewn ashes, about to discover footsteps, and yet, to his great amazement, he found Leclerc in the same lamentable plight. The padlock intent and the no impress on the ashes. Well, much perplexed, Jocko went to consult one of the great cronies in town. And after telling his tale of woe, she, gazing around nervously, whispered hurriedly, c'est la lutin qui l'a soigné. It is the goblin that takes care of her. Was a dreaded monster which haunted the point many years before. If he took a dislike to a habitant, he would tantalize him by riding his finest horses by night. Undaunted, Jocko smiled and said it was the work of some enemy jealous of Leclerc. That's it. He was determined, however, to find out for himself who this enemy was. So, on a bright moonlit night, he stationed himself outside the window of his barn and got a good view. Not a sound disturbed the air, save the low murmuring of the water against the beach, or the occasional restless bullfrog. All nature seemed to sleep. Suddenly, a sound like the troubling neighing of horses fell on his ears, and he saw the barn doors noiselessly open. Leclerc, trembling like a leaf, came flying out. On her back was a fearful apparition. Jocko was no coward, but he felt his courage oozing out of his knees, cold chills down his back, and great beads of perspiration standing on his forehead. Oh, the monster! He resembled a baboon with horned head, skin of bristling black hair, brilliant restless eyes, and a devilish leer on his face. It clutched with one hand Leclerc's mane, and the other belabored her with a stick of thorn bush, for the fiend rode without sidle or bridle. Jocko knew in an instant that his rifle was powerless against such a foe. So he ran and seized the water font nearby, and he threw it down the monster as he passed beneath the window. A demonic shriek rent the air. Oh, the horse snorted and reared, and notwithstanding the efforts of the fiend, plunged into the chilly waters of the lake. Jocko rushed in pursuit, but when he arrived at the beach, only circling eddies marked the spot where the affrighted animal and its fiendish rider disappeared. firing his rifle to awaken his neighbors. Jocko related his adventure, his disorganized appearance, the absence of the horse, the broken pieces of the holy water font, and the thorn bush stick dropped by the goblin confirmed his tale. After this event, he marked all of his horses with the cross, fearing the return of the And to this day, the Grosse Pointe inhabitants retain this custom. And whenever they find a favorite horse reeking with sweat and foam, they shake their heads and they say, "It is Le Lutin come again."
Oh, Izzy. That was a great story.
I'm exhausted, Rick.
I know, I'm sure you are. About our wonderful French legends here in Grosse Pointe. Thank you for sharing it with us this very afternoon.
Welcome. Here's that
My goodness to your audience, what a wonderful time we're having. And yet there is more. I would like to introduce you to my next guest, Mr. William Lancaster. Who's going to share his story and a little history of the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club. Well, hello, Mr. Lancaster. Welcome to the Grosse Pointe Historical Society live radio show.
Aw, shucks. Just call me Bill. That's what they all call me. Just Bill.
Hey, Bill.
Well, certainly, Bill. Now, I understand you have a very special insider's view of the yacht club.
Oh, you betcha. Yes, sirree. I sure do know them members real well.
And how has that come to be?
I ain't sure if you're old enough to remember the rough times, meaning the Great Depression.
Actually,
Well, let me tell you, son, it sure was something awful. Just awful, I tell you.
Yes, but how does the Depression play into your knowledge at the yacht club?
Well, sir, let me see here. It was in February of 1935, or was it 36? Nope, it was definitely 35 because that's the year my dog died.
Bill, the Depression hit in 1929.
Yep, it was most definitely 1935. That was the year that the board of directors had to fire all the staff. Fired them all. Who would ever thought that our beautiful club would ever come to this? Why, Rick, do you know how gorgeous that clubhouse was?
Bill, you were telling us how you know so much about the club.
Why, when it opened there on July 4th, Independence Day, 1929, 'twas the social event of the year. The social elite enjoyed a whole bunch of sport-type events like competitive swimming, diving, and sailing. The Detroit News Society editor even wrote a big old story all about it. Oh, and the dining room. Oh, my.
I think I'm losing control.
The food was cooked by chefs of the finest training. Oh, all them wonderful smells that filled the air of them dining rooms, served on china made just for us, with our very own Grosse Pointe Yacht Club logo right on them. 'Twas a thing of beauty. You know, of course, that only the most wealthy Detroiters were members. And oh, was it grand.
Hello, Bill.
And the lobby was filled with the most luxurious, cushion-like chairs on oriental rugs.
Yeah.
Oh my, I had never seen myself such a beautiful place in all of my years.
So, how was it that you saw these sights?
Oh, wait, I forgot to tell you about the flowers. I think they was phlox and roses. Nope, now let me think about that. They were not roses, because roses smell real good, and these didn't have any sort of smell like that. Yep, now I remember it was phlox and delphininium. Yes, sirree, that's it, because it was a flower that I could never really pronounce quite right. Let me give her another try. Delphinium. Oh, and the vases. Or would that be vase?
Vase? Really now, Bill?
Yeah, you know, them big old glass containers that you put flowers and such inside of.
Bill, I know what a vase is.
Oh, that's good, Rick. I'd figured that a man of your standing would most certainly know what a flower vase is used for.
Just go on, Bill. What do you want to tell us?
Even that old bell up there in the bell tower was made by the prestigious Meneely Corporation of New York. Cost the club $4,000. Was 5 feet high and weighed more than 2 tons. The Meneely Company made the bells that hang at Independence Hall, West Point, and on the Grand Old Galley, Old Ironsides. Only the very best for the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club.
Well, Bill, how did you...
But then it happened, Rick. Black Friday, and the bottom fell right out from under the stock market.
Okay, yes, Bill, I remember, I just said that.
And sure enough, wouldn't you just know it, all them wealthy millionaire folk lost all their money, and that went and did it all in. I tell you this, Sonny, that club was over $1 million in debt by the end of 1935. Or what at 36?
Bill, did you lose money in the crash?
Oh, gosh, no, Rick. I never had no money of my own. I've been hired by the club as the assistant manager, and my wife the housekeeper. Lived in the club for years.
You mean you worked for the club?
Shucks, son. That's what I've been trying to tell you.
Well, Bill, I think we've learned quite a bit about the club. Thanks for sharing your story with us.
Oh, but I got plenty more to say about all that.
No, that was just fine, Bill. Thank you and goodbye.
Y'all can find me around here after the show if you'd like to hear some more. Thank you.
Let me catch my breath. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. We have our concluding story, a story of intrigue, a story that captures the essence of old Grosse Pointe, and told by none better than our own Simone. Come on up here, dear, and share with us the wreck of the Julia Plant.
Oh, thank you, Rick. Thank you. I just love this story. She's a classic. Listen now, and I tell you the story of the wreck of the Julia Plant. That was a ship, you know, in Lac St. Clair. They sank, you know.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah, right, sank right on Lac St. Clair. It was one dark night on Lac St. Clair, and the wind, she blow and blow and blow.
I can imagine.
And the crew of the Julia Plant, the Wood Scout Julia Plant, got scared and run below. The wind, she blow like hurricane, and by she blow some more. And the scow bust up just off Grosse Pointe, 10 acres from the shore. The captain walk on the front deck. He walk on the hind deck too. And he called the crew up from the hold. And he called the cook also. The cook, she name was Rosie.
Oh, yeah, delightful.
She come from Montreal. Was chambermaid on a lumber barge on the big Lachine Canal. The wind, she blow from the north, east, west. The south wind, she blow too. When Rosie cried, "Oh, Capitan, Capitan, what shall I do?" The captain then throw down the hank, that's the anchor.
Oh, yes, thank you.
But still do the scow she grief. The crew, he can't pass on the shore because he lost his skiff. The night was dark like one black cat. The wave run high and far. When the captain take his poor Rosie and he lash her to the mast. tie her all up to the mast. And then he'd take the life preserve and jump off into the lake. Say, au revoir, my Rosie dear. I go drown for your sake. Oh, so sad.
Oh, so very sad.
Next morning, very early, about 2:30, 3, 4, the captain's scow and poor Rosie was corpses on the shore. Scare her so bad she leaves.
It scared me too.
Yeah. For the wind, she blow like hurricane, and then she blow some more. And the scow busts up just off Grosse Pointe, 10 acres from the shore. Now, I got to tell them this. All wood scow sailormen take warning by that storm and go marry some nice French girl and live on one big farm. The wind might blow like hurricane, and suppose she blows some more. You can't get drowned in Lac St. Clair so long as you stay on the shore.
That's very, very sage advice, Simone. What a delightful story, I think. And thank you again for all these wonderful old Grosse Pointe stories.
Oh, did nothing. Bonsoir, ma chérie.
Ah, what a lovely lady. Let's have applause. And now as we near the end of our program, and for those people who have just arrived, I have a poem that I would like to share with you. It was written by Frederick M. Sibley, famous as Poet Laureate of the Detroit Literary Club and a lifelong Grosse Pointer. His words so beautifully frame the heart and soul of the Grosse Pointe Historical Society and its mission. Please listen. The ancient strip farm from the lake were Cadillac's first village plan, so all the settlers thus could take sufficient farmland for each man. How could those founders then foresee the great events the years would bring? Once farms, now mansions, greenery. 3 centuries changed everything, yet progress was routinely slow, converting humble huts to halls, as simple fruit crops, row on row, became estates with garden walls. Even as late as 1920, Moross was just a country lane, where Boy Scouts hiked through wood aplenty, and land was wild or plowed terrain. The country club on Lake St. Clair, where interurbans turned toward town, played baseball games in weather fair upon the club's own emerald lawn. Nor did one fear pollution when electric cars rode on the street. Gas buggies came a-chugging then. Electrics could not long compete. The years were simpler long ago. Most folks worked gladly, hard and long, except when illness laid them low. They had their modest fun with song. So let us not ignore our past with its simplicity and zest, for time will all of us outlast and honor those who coped the best. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that concludes our program for this afternoon. I certainly hope that you have enjoyed our guests as much as I have. But before we close, one last message, from our sponsor, Sol Shayowitz, owner of Grosse Pointe Quality Foods.
If it passes our test, you know it's the best. Grosse Pointe quality product.
the best. Grosse Pointe quality products.
Very nice.
Dear audience, as you know, I'm so very fond of that jingle, I'd be remiss if I didn't do my own very quick rendition.
Please don't.
It is the best, it's the best. You know it's the best. Grosse Pointe quality products. Okay, so now, good afternoon, dear audience. Look forward to seeing you at our next radio performance, live from the Grosse Pointe Historical Society, Grosse Pointe, Michigan. And a very good afternoon to all.
His hands are like ice. This one didn't make my introduction, so may I please introduce my little brother. This is Jeff Wilson. And Mom says we were not adopted, but I don't know about that. But Jeffrey was volunteered to his sister's begging to be the monster, and my beautiful niece, Melissa K. Wilson, she is filming. She is going to be a professional makeup artist. I wonder how she's going to do.
Good job.
Thank you. Take a bow here. Let my hands. Yeah, stand up. Jeff, you don't have to if you can to be great. Okay. Thank you.